As you can see from there, I'm calling it Top Tips for Talking, because I think many of us know the difficulty of speaking for the Lord, whether it's in our work situation or amongst the people we meet. We know we are to be witnesses. We were reading about that last week, but we struggle to do that, don't we? So on Sunday mornings, I just want to give a 3-minute burst each time on to encourage and trust to help us in that respect. Now, this is a text we often turn to when we are thinking about witnessing and speaking for the Lord. 1 Peter, who is going to harm you if you're eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear what they fear, do not be frightened. But in your hearts set apart Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer for everyone who asks you, to give a reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect. And it goes on a little bit more too as well. Now, very often when we're thinking about that, this is the part of the verse that is important. It's about being ready and answering and being kind and all that sort of stuff, being gentle and respectful. But I think that before we get there, we've got to be amongst this part of the verse as well, which is more important. Our hearts, in witness, our hearts are more important than our mouths. You may not have thought about it that way. You may think, oh, I've got to speak or something like that. But no, our hearts are more important than our mouths. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Jesus said that, so did John the Baptist actually. And Peter here says that if we are to be able to speak for the Lord, he must rule our hearts. Jesus Christ must be Lord in our hearts. So what stops us from having Christ being Lord in our hearts? And Peter says here, fear can. Fear can stop us having the Lord. Stuff we fear is in charge more than Jesus. That's the equation which he wants to work out properly. Now, Peter is writing to churches which are suffering, and scary things are happening to believers. And it's much less likely in our day that such scary things will happen. But nonetheless, fear is a big issue, isn't it? Now, first of all, he gives us the assurance that if we do good, it's very unlikely we'll suffer harm. If we do suffer harm whilst we are doing good and just getting on with our lives, we are blessed. Now that's interesting, isn't it? So if you know someone who's suffering, or when you suffer just for getting on with doing your job or whatever it might be, you're blessed. So that's interesting. That's one good reason for not fearing. Now, what are the sorts of things that we might fear that might keep our hearts in the wrong place? Perhaps being frozen out of friends or family. You know, that sort of gathering where they don't want to talk to the God Squad. Now that's you. Maybe you fear being victimised because you're a Christian and that people are going to get at you. Maybe you fear losing your job. Maybe all three of those things will happen on the same day because you have lived for Jesus. And even if they do, Peter says, don't fear, don't be frightened like other people are. Why? Because Jesus Christ is Lord. And he's Lord whether you've got a job or not, whether you're victimised or not, whether you're blamed or not. Now that's a very powerful place to be. And if our hearts set apart Jesus above all things, including our fears, which are down here, then our mouths will speak in honour of him. So before we even open our mouths, our hearts are the right place to start. Make sure, children, grown-ups, us, me, that Jesus Christ is set apart as the Holy Lord of all in our hearts in this week. Top tips for talking.